I just realized something. I don't think I fully know or could explain what cabbage is. Like, I know what it is. Like, I know, like, okay, cabbage, yeah. Like, cabbage, people will do cabbage soup, or like, yeah, like, I know kimchi, there's cabbage in it. I know, like, sausage and cabbage and, like, pierogi. Like, I get it. But, like, what is it? Like, I don't know what makes cabbage different from just regular plain old lettuce. I'm going to Google it. Cabbage versus lettuce. Excuse me. Just fair warning, I'm a bit on the, as you could say, tired side. I might have potentially maybe kind of thought that it was a Tuesday up until very recently. So, like, I was thinking, like, oh, I'm good, I'll record, my highly successful podcast. Like, I'll just record that tomorrow on Wednesday when I normally, record, and then we'll be good to upload on Thursday. No, apparently today, as I'm recording this, is Wednesday. So that would mean tomorrow is Thursday, which means my podcast homework is due in 1 hour and 39 minutes. So, there's that. Anyway, cabbage has a more robust, sometimes slightly peppery flavor, while lettuce is typically milder and more delicate. Okay. Well, I hope everybody has had a cabbagey week as opposed to a lettucey week. Unless of course you're looking for kind of more milder and more delicate tones to your week, then I hope you have that. Like, whatever you're looking for, I hope you get. I've had a decent week. It's been pretty good. I have I think I need to get insoles or something, or like I need to get Dr. Scholl's on the line. I have like a pain on like the bottom of my foot that I'm pretty certain is from my shoes. Because I don't know if I told everyone this, but I got Kirkland like knockoff. What are they called? What are those shoes? And they're like kind of like boots. Was it Blundstones? I got knockoff Blundstones. And it's kind of had to change my whole personality, because it has almost like a peppery, cabbagey type of vibe to it, wherein I want to just wear a lot of like plaid and then maybe one of those hats. Like, it almost turned me into a musician, but without giving me any talent, or at least any more talent than I had before I bought them. But I just kind of want to wear like denim and yeah, just like a hat, and like maybe sing like a folk song. Get big into folk. I don't really know. Similar to Cabbage, I don't know what folk is. Like, I do know what it is, but like I can't describe it to you, much like pepper. Like, is folk excuse me, very tired. Is folk a genre? Like, it's like kind of like bluegrass country-ish? Because I also like using the word folks as like talking about people. Just like some folks will, some folks are nuts. Like, that's like a fun word. I think we need to not bring it back, because for something to be brought back, that would have meant that it would have had to leave. And I feel like that word never fully left. But like, I would like for it to have more of a revival, a renaissance, so to speak. But yeah, just fair warning, this episode is going to be fascinating, that's for sure. I can't say it's going to be good necessarily, but it's going to be fascinating. I'm sitting here on my beanbag chair. I've done a lot of car episodes lately, but this is we're going back to our roots. I contemplated doing a mobile on the go episode, wherein I am, in traffic or on the freeway, recording hands-free, very safe, recording the episode. But I was just like, you know what? Let's do this the proper way. Let's get in a robe and pajamas and a hoodie and some, like, not fuzzy socks, but, like, okay, they're just, like, sports socks, to be honest. But, like, in my head, they're, like, fancy fuzzy socks. Maybe, like, Christmas socks. I still have a mini Christmas tree up. And we are vastly approaching March, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, how is that a thing? How is it almost March? Like, January felt like forever, but February, which I infamously have beef with, because what is that R doing after the B? Freaking nothing is the answer to that question. That R is doing nothing, because we pronounce it February, not February. But anyway, as we sit on the precipice of the 20s, of the February 20s. Actually, when you hear this, it'll be February 20th. How weird is that? Which means, if anyone is counting down, also, you would have to be counting down and also have to have listened to the episode of this podcast where I broke this news story. But I told myself that I was going to skydive in my birthday, which is in the spring. So it's almost like every day that passes is a day closer to me either becoming a skydiver or fully cementing my status as A, a loser, or B, just a full-blown liar. But, like, no, I really want to do it. I mean it. I would like to skydive. Now, it's so much easier to say you're going to do something, months before, versus, like, oh, hey, let's do this tomorrow. I'm kind of one of those people where, like, I will either do a task, an errand, whatever, within 5 minutes of thinking of it, or 5 months. Like, I sometimes force myself. Like, even if the deadline is, like, in a couple weeks, I'm like, no, I have to do it now. Like, I have to do it in this moment, or I won't do it for 7 months. Or at least, like, to the very, very last minute. I am a professional procrastinator. But what makes me not so ashamed of my procrastination skills is I really do my best to make sure that it only affects me. Like, if I was in a group project or something for school, like, I always did my part. I was a good-ish student. I always did my homework. And again, if I was in a group project, like, if I said that Google Doc was going to be filled by 10:30. It was filled by 10:30. Now, did I start it, at 10:11? Yeah. But I still got it done. End result is truly what matters. I operate from a level of, like, we're going for completion. Completion at minimum. We're just going to check the box and keep on moving. So that's kind of where my mindset is. And I think that allows for some procrastination because it's like, I'm not worried about getting an A. I just need to get like a B+ or even a B- and like do it in the least amount of time possible, closest to the deadline. Again, I'm not, like, this is not like an advice podcast. Like, I'm not telling you this is what you should be doing. I'm just saying this is my personal experience. It's more of a reflection than anything. Yeah. So anyway, we covered Cabbage. We covered my procrastination skills. I think we're good to go. So let's fully start the show. Welcome to episode number something of the Nobody Asked for This podcast. Honestly, it feels like it's such a joy to be at episode number something, truly. like, this is really, like, every once in a while, I'll look in the mirror, which I don't like to do, and I think, wow, you really stuck to this. Every Thursday, I record a scattered, slightly concerning voice note, essentially, and willingly put it on the internet, and, like, I'm not even embarrassed by it. So that's a skill. That's something to be, if not proud of, it's something to be aware of. Which, also speaking of aware of, I am very aware that I have looked really bad this week. So if you've seen me in the last couple days and I looked disheveled, which is probably none of you that have actually seen me, but I did in fact look disheveled. I want to put out just a public apology. I feel like I'm just gonna be honest. Do you know when someone is trying out like a natural deodorant and they tell you every 5 minutes, like, do I smell? I'm sorry, I'm trying a new deodorant. Do I smell? And it's like, no, you don't smell, but now you're just annoying. But I've kind of been doing that, not with the natural deodorant, but I've been trying to shower at night because I am lazy in the morning and wish to sleep as long as possible, essentially. Even though I think I've talked about this before, I don't need a ton of sleep. Like legitimately, like 2-3 hours, like, I'll be fine. I won't thrive. I won't be like happy about it, but like, I'll be fine. I can pull it together. Not every night, but like once in a while, like it will be good. I'm not one of those people that's like, if I haven't had 11 and a half hours of sleep, don't even bother waking me up. Like, that's ridiculous. No offense. Although I do think we should be prioritizing sleep. I said yes to sleep a couple years ago, and quite honestly, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. For some reason, recently, I've gone back to my like night owl vision, night owl ways, which I don't recommend, and I'm really trying to get out of. But that's the thing with sleep, It's like once you set a pattern, it's really hard to break it because you essentially have to either not sleep at all or like sleep a ton one day. So like, let's say you go to bed at 2 a.m. and then wake up at 9 or wake up at 8 or whatever. What is that? How many hours is that? Like 6? Sure. If the next day you want to go to bed early, it's like, well, I just woke up at 9. Like, for me, I find that like the days that it's easiest to go to bed early are the days where I've woken up early. But if I'm in a pattern of going to bed late and waking up late, then there has to be, in order to break that pattern, there has to be a day where I wake up late, but then also go to bed early, which really just monopolizes your time because you have fewer hours in the day. And as you can clearly tell, I am very busy. Not everyone has just ample time. Like, it's not like I'm recording a pointless podcast for, an hour, or not really an hour, like half an hour. Honestly, maybe this episode a little shorter. But like, I only have so much time for, stupidity, for nonsense. And it's really, the Nobody Asked for This podcast really takes up kind of that chunk of the pie, so to speak. That's such a good term, so to speak. Anyway, what was I talking about? Sleep schedules? Just sleep, okay? There's nothing, you don't need to be Googling stuff at 2 a.m. Like, I totally understand if you're like in school or maybe like you have a newborn, like then obviously like you might be up in the AM hours. But like everyone else, like we don't have to be up at 3 a.m. watching Netflix. We just don't. Like, go to sleep. I promise you, Netflix will be there in the morning. Although sometimes I just like peace and quiet. And you just, unfortunately, like, sometimes you need everyone around you to be like asleep to have that. No offense, I have great people around me, and that isn't really my problem, but like I could see the argument of like, I need my phone not to be ringing. I need there not to be noise in my environment. I just need like peace and quiet. And if you have to wait till 1 a.m. to find that, and that's going to, soothe your soul, who am I to stop you? Do you like how I'll start out? It's really a gift. I'll start out with like a firm stance of like, I hate this. And then by the time I've rambled and given all my disclaimers, it's like I go back to neutral. I'm like, but you should do whatever you want. Like that's how much of a, like a, is pushover the term? I'm not sure. That's how much of a swayable, like not gullible, but like swayable. Like anyone or my own self can convince me or someone else of anything, everywhere all at once. Like I'm actually an ideal cult member. I could never be a cult leader. But like I really think if a cult person tried hard enough, they could get me. I think the thing that would save me from being sucked into a cult is the social aspect. Like I'm not really into leaving the house. I'm not really into like meeting new people. Like I just feel like I'm good with the level of people that I've met currently. And like I'm not really looking to expand, Like I'm set. I understand like I'm young to be set and saying like I'm never making any new friends. Like I hope that's not fully true. But like I'm good, Like if this is the cap, brilliant for me. So like I feel like a lot of cults start off like you have to, as someone who is being sort of courted by a cult, there are probably a lot of like social events that you have to willingly, or at least in your, like you have to physically drive yourself to, and I just can't see myself doing that. So in essence, my lack of wanting to hang out with people might just be the thing that saves me from being in one of those Netflix documentaries in 10 years talking about, how they got me in the cult. That's an interesting word. It is also, it's not unlike the word folk, where it's like it's like an O sound, like cult, like it sounds like I'm saying cult. I'm not saying cult, I'm saying cult. Which, speaking of, isn't that the name of that coconut thing that everyone's eating to make themselves have diarrhea? What is that called again? Coconut cult? Cult? What is that? Coconut cult. Let's see. What's so special about coconut cult? Our yogurt, it's a yogurt, has a naturally effervescent flavor. Fermented with powerful live cultures, creating the ultimate healing food that is alive with good bacteria, which can make them tangy and bubbly on the tongue instead of super sweet, like many foods being sold as yogurt today. Okay. Interesting. I'm not fully understanding. I don't know if it's yogurt, like I have to get my granola and peanut butter. I haven't talked about granola and peanut butter in a while. Not because I've left the lifestyle. I just today finished both a jar of peanut butter and a bag of granola. Not like I started it today, but like I finished it today. They both came to a natural conclusion today. Actually, I do have to say, a little bit ago, I did a kind of like a big grocery haul of like my granolas and stuff. And I just came to the end of that supply. And I was like, I wonder how long that was. Like, that'll be good to know, like, naturally, like, how long it takes me to go through, X amount of bags of granola in oatmeal or whatever. And I was like, it's probably been a couple months. It had been 3.5 weeks. It had been 3.5 weeks. And that was me buying it. Like, the granola that I bought was, like, on sale. So I was like, let me buy a couple extra bags. Like, let me stock up 3.5 weeks. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, what do I do with that information? Like, who do I take that to? Like, who are you going to call? not the Ghostbusters. I've actually never add Ghostbusters to the list of movies that I reference all the time, but actually have not seen. Top of that list is Inception. I'm always saying like, oh, this is like Inception this, Inception that. I've never seen Inception. I don't know how Inception works. It was spoiled for me at one point, but I can't actually remember what the details of the spoiler were, so it actually hasn't been spoiled. That's the thing with me. Like, I actually have a pretty terrible memory to the point where, like, I could watch a movie. I could read a book, and then read or watch that same book or movie 6 months later and be, like, jaw on the floor shocked at the twist. Like, it's fully in one ear and out the other. And there are cons to that, you know. If I walk into a grocery store without a list, I'll forget my entire, you know, all my wants and needs and just come out with, like, a bag of Cheetos, which I'm not necessarily mad at, but, like, that's not why, you know, I made a detour to the store. And then I have to go to another store, in which case I'm lucky if I can even, you know, remember to take a list. Basically, I am not that bright, is what I think I'm trying to say. But I'm trying to adapt as best as possible and, you know, just use my tools to get us somewhere, I think is what I'm trying to say. And if you find yourself in a similar situation, maybe that's, like, the advice I could give. Like, how to pivot. Like, don't take, like, life advice from me, but, like, I could maybe teach you how to, like, work a little bit harder, not smarter. Anyway, what else happened? Not much. It's been pretty... It's been pretty business as usual. I feel like February usually is. I think in my head, like, the year doesn't start until, like, May. Maybe, like, mid-April. It's like, okay, time to wake up now. And only because we're, like, pretty much close to July, which is, like, halfway to Christmas. Which is really, like December is, like, objectively the best month. Like, once we get to September, honestly, even mid-August, like, once that pumpkin spice comes back, I'm good to go. Like, you won't hear a peep, a complain out of me. Now, the problem is, we still have how many months till that? I mean, it's coming back earlier and earlier every year. It's almost to the point where, like, you can get a pumpkin spice latte, like, 6 months of the year. Now, the problem is we're in the 6 months of the year where you can't. So I'm, like, a little bit pissed, but that's okay. March, April, May, June, July, August. Okay, so we still have, like, 6 months to go. But that's not so bad, because that means that the last time it came back was 6 months ago. So we're, like, halfway. We're just, like, halfway there. Not to change the subject, my hands have been so dry. So extremely dry. And I think it's because of the cold. But I've been trying to put, like, cream on them. I've been trying to... I don't know. People have been telling me, like, coconut oil. I haven't done that yet. Because, to be honest, I used all my coconut oil popping popcorn last year during my popcorn phase. But the second I buy more coconut oil, and I think the advice was to put the coconut oil on and then, like, put gloves on and then, like, go to sleep. Or, like, not, like, the sleep doesn't help it, but, like, it's like you put it on while you're sleeping, because you can't really, like, exist in the world as easily, like, if you're, like, awake and going through that process of having gloved hands with coconut oil. Although I guess you could, but it's just easier to do while asleep. So I gotta get that done. I'm busy, let me tell you. Yikes! If you can't tell, I obviously, like, this is these are the thoughts of a person who has a lot going on. Now I kind of want to try some cabbage. I got to add it to my shopping list. Can't wait to forget it. Anyway, this is probably a good place to stop. I feel like we've reached a natural conclusion. I also do just want to put out an apology. I feel like I never... Like, can you end a podcast that you never started? Not really. No. But I do hope that everyone has a nice day, a nice evening, a nice life. Like, not in the sense of like, oh, have a nice life. Like, I genuinely, like, I hope your life is going nicely. I hope you all have, like, cabbage, if you'd like, and, or lettuce, whichever is preferable to you. What else do I hope? I hope I get a haircut by the time you hear from me next. It's kind of time for that. Haircuts are one of those things where it's like I could push it off forever, and then one day I look in the mirror, which I don't really do. Again, what else did I say I was looking in the mirror about? I can't remember. But one day I look in the mirror and it's like, oh shoot, like you have to fix this now. And I'm just a touch on the lazy side. And again, I own it, you know? That's something that I can't be accused of, is like not owning it. I'm like kind of the worst. But see, I owned it, so it's fine. It's like it truly excuses everything if you're just the first person to say it. You just be like, yeah, I'm the worst. And then what are people going to say? You're the worst? It's like, yeah, no, I know, I said that. I really took that approach in the naming of this podcast. It's like, yeah, nobody asked for this. Like, what are you going to tell me? I have no listeners? I know. I said it first. I manifested this, you know. We're coming up on how many years? 3 years of the Nobody Asked for This podcast? That's kind of cool. That's like, it's like 3 years I'll never get back, but like I don't even want them back. We had some laughs, we had some fun, and we will continue to. That's the thing about being your own boss, is there's no one to tell you to stop. Not that I just have to do a full disclaimer, I'm obviously kidding. I don't consider myself my own boss because I have a elective podcast. Although I feel like more and more people are getting podcasts now. And by that, I mean like randoms, like not like obviously like famous people, like it's their thing to start a new podcast every, 45 minutes. But like, I think more like normal people, more normies are starting podcasts. And I would like to think that like I was on some sort of, not the forefront, but like in the first wave of like normal people deciding that we were just going to post our voice notes. Like I figured out how to get this onto Apple and Spotify, and it like wasn't that hard. They should really make that harder. Like I shouldn't be allowed to do this. Like obviously all about like freedom of speech, but like this gets uploaded onto like Spotify, the same platform that like actual podcasts get on. Like what? Like the internet is like too open. Anyway, I'm gonna go to sleep. I'll probably have some sort of like a granola, peanut butter, yogurt bowl situation. Maybe I think I'll have some oatmeal. I'm gonna make my oatmeal and then I'm gonna go to sleep. I hope everybody has a splendid week full of cabbage and Splenda, and maybe read a book, a TV show that you're meaning to watch. And yeah, if you like what you heard, you can go to podcastnobodyasked.podbean.com. On there, you can find links to all the places that you can listen. I actually think it's the 1 year anniversary of me last posting on the Nobody Asked for This podcast Instagram. Really let that go, but like we're still recording, which is the important part. But you could technically follow us there. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great weekend, situation, life. If you took the time to listen to this, I really do appreciate it, truly. And I will talk to you next week. Bye.